Now, campaigners from the Republic Group staged a protest at the gates of Buckingham Palace today, hanging a polling station sign across the gates as they demand an elected head of state. It's clear now that Republicans feel empowered by Prince Harry's vicious attacks on the monarchy.
Tom Bower isn't pulling any punches. He's calling Meghan and Harry dangerous people, and it's not just about royal drama. According to Bower, what's happening behind those Montecito gates is much bigger than just family feuds. He says the Sussexes are running a power play, using activism and woke messaging to build a new empire.
With the group vowing to stage further stunts in the run-up to May's coronation. However, it may be that King Charles's coronation is spoilt by those closer to home, with no firm answers from the palace on whether the Sussexes will be allowed to attend the national celebration following bombshell accusations against the monarchy. The palace's dignified silence now has media tongues wagging with speculation as to whether or not the couple, or perhaps a solo Prince Harry, will choose to or even be allowed to attend the celebrations. Well, joining me now is the esteemed royal biographer, author of Revenge, Meghan, Harry and the War Between the Windsors, Tom Bower. So, Tom, that war continues, of course, but there's still no answers as to whether the palace is going to take an aggressive stance or continue to appease the Sussexes.
Well, I think it's even worse than that. Good evening, Dan. I think it's even worse than that because I think King Charles is showing the very weakness that I always feared. Because I think the British public want a line drawn under this whole saga. They want these dangerous people from Montecito to be silenced. And it's not only the Sussexes which are jeopardizing the coronation, it's Prince Andrew as well now, who seeks to resuscitate his reputation. And I think King Charles is absolutely bombarded by the problems of his family, and he needs to draw a line and just show that he's not going to allow these two, Harry and Andrew, to undermine the coronation, and needs to say quite firmly that Harry and Meghan are not invited to the wedding. That will be very popular in Britain, and that he disapproves of what Harry has done.
Whereas, Tom, it seems like he's trying to take a more middle ground approach, which is invite Harry and Meghan and Prince Andrew to the coronation, but ban them from the balcony appearance, which will be for working members of the royal family. You clearly don't think that's enough.
Well, what I fear, Dan, is that if either of them come, all the focus will be on them rather than on the coronation and the importance of the monarchy and the unification of Great Britain. And he needs to get rid of them now. He should stop Andrew's campaign to rehabilitate himself dead, and he should tell Harry and Meghan they are not invited. What is really interesting is that over the last couple of days, clearly the Meghan and Harry publicity machine is getting agitated that we're not talking enough about them, that somehow their onslaught has not really scored the points they'd hoped here. And that, first of all, is the article in today's Telegraph that somehow Meghan has decided to remain silent because she has nothing to do with Harry's book, which is patently ridiculous. And this interview in Vanity Fair with the director and producer of the Netflix series, Liz Garbus, that somehow because the palace decided not to respond to their request.
Well, indeed. So Tom, let's come to both of them separately, because I'm absolutely fascinated to know what you think about this briefing to the Daily Telegraph. Let me just put up on screen the quote that was briefed to the newspaper, because it was very, very telling to me. So they said, is this the way she, as in Meghan, would have approached things? Possibly not, but she will always back him and would never have got involved in promoting such a personal project. This was about his own life, his own journey and his own perspectives. And Tom, my reading of that is that was a deliberate briefing on behalf of Meghan herself, and for the first time, throwing her husband under the bus. So it felt significant to me because, of course, this is the Daily Telegraph, one of the few newspapers in the UK, Tom, that the Sussexes do have a working relationship with, and they haven't denied that briefing.
But Bauer claims it's not about healing or reform or even real progress. Instead, it's about image, influence and ego. Tom Bauer lays it out. Meghan and Harry, in his view, are using progressive causes as tools, not to uplift others, but to boost their own brand and tear down the traditions they left behind. Every interview, every Netflix special, every speech, Bauer argues it's all carefully packaged. The real mission? To rebrand themselves as global icons while quietly undermining the royal family's credibility.
Well, I think what they're doing myself is that Meghan is setting up her own stall to fire the next salvo. She wanted, and I think their publicist wanted, this to be Harry's story. But of course it wasn't. There was so much in the book that came from her mouth and her ideas, whether it is about that she never Googled Harry before she met him, and the whole description of what happened at the Portland hospital when Archie was born. Both are completely fictitious. I don't believe for a moment that Meghan wasn't part of the whole campaign, and I think what they're really doing is saving her for the next stage. And they don't want to sort of...
So you think they're still totally unified, Harry and Meghan?
Yeah, I do.
And then, as you mentioned, the director of the Netflix reality show that the Sussexes did, Liz Garbus, has lashed out at Buckingham Palace, accusing them of trying to discredit her project. So she disputes claims from the palace that her team did not reach out to the royal family for comment and insisted they were approached. The palace, meanwhile, maintained they were only ever contacted by a third-party production company. But what was this about, Tom? Because, as you say, it's a continuation of the PR war, isn't it?
Well, it's also, I suppose, that producer Garbus and director is horrified that she's no longer being discussed. I mean, no doubt the Netflix series was a great success in viewer numbers, a huge success according to Netflix. But actually, when she says that her series was critical thinking, that is ridiculous. There was no criticism and there was no thinking. It was just sheer propaganda, which Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propagandist, would look at with awe. I mean, just take the racism thing. She says that she held up the monarchy to criticism. She didn't. All she did was she trashed it with two patsies who absolutely had no thought whatsoever of the truth. They just spewed out their venom and didn't consider this very, very hilarious contradiction that Harry, in his own interviews to promote his book, said that the royal family is not racist. Not only that, he said that he and Meghan love Lady Susan Hussey, this arch-villain of racism. So she is in a ridiculous position where she made racism at the center of her Netflix series, but Harry now says that Meghan never accused the royal family of racism and they love Hussey. So, I think at the moment what's happening is they don't know how to get their ducks in a row. I think Meghan and Harry, having fired this astonishing fusillade, bombardment of the royal family, are really wondering what the next step is. And the next step surely must be that the royal family, and particularly Prince William and Prince and King Charles, make clear that Harry has now excluded himself from the family. That would be the best way to draw a line under this whole saga.
And Montecito? Bauer calls it their command centre. It's where strategies are crafted, narratives are shaped, and the latest woke message gets rolled out to the world. From the Oprah sit-down to Harry's United Nations speech, Bauer says it's all about controlling the story, virtue signalling, but with a calculated twist. Here's the real warning. Tom Bauer thinks their influence is growing. To him, it's not just about the monarchy anymore. It's about shifting how entire generations see tradition, royalty, even truth itself. So are Meghan and Harry speaking truth to power, or just rewriting history for their own ambition? I want to know what you think. Does integrity still matter more than influence? Hit like if you agree, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. This one's going to spark a real debate. Don't forget to subscribe, because when the next royal bombshell drops, you'll want to be here to see it unfold.